Alrighty, as promised last time, we're going to go over the light and medium torpedo bombers. But before that, if you're new to the channel, hello and welcome. And for those of you who are coming back from my previous video, good to see you again. Little disclaimer though for the new folks. The purpose of these videos is to highlight problems with a number of ships that Star Citizen has, and point out simple solutions and easy fixes to those problems. It is not to try and pick a ship and try to make it better or overpowered or change it into something that's completely different. That is not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is exclusively to enable these ships that have these issues to do their intended job. No more, no less. You know, when I go to the store because I need a wrench and I buy a wrench set, you know, because I got a nut or something that needs to be worked on that requires a wrench or whatever. I get home and I buy this thing, I open it up and it's full of screwdrivers, hammers, and drills. Like, what the heck am I going to do with that? I needed a friggin' wrench, not this. It's not what I paid for. So that is the purpose of these videos, to make these things do their intended job, or rather to suggest changes that would allow them to do their intended job. That's it. That being said, I am the kind of person who believes in positive and negative reinforcement, I guess we'll call it. So if you're doing good, I'm going to praise you. If you're doing a terrible job, I'm gonna let you know. And I'm the kind of guy who calls a turd a turd. I don't know how else to say it. Unfortunately, with this series, you're not going to hear me praising them very much because this is specifically going over problems. That being said, I myself am not a YouTuber, and if you're coming here from my previous videos, then you already know, like, I'm using MS Paint and Windows Movie Maker for half of my editing, so, you know, I'm very new at this. I'm still trying to get used to talking to an empty room. Very weird feeling. Gotta throw that out there. But as promised from my previous video, we're going to go over the Gladiator today, so let's go ahead and get into the light, and I'm probably going to do the medium torpedo bomber as well at the end of the video, which is the Harbinger. So let's get into it. First things first, this thing is absolutely terrible at its one and only job. For those of you who don't know, this thing is supposed to be and again, air quotes, light bomber. In this case, it's a multi-role. They just don't have the air-to-ground bombs and rockets and stuff in there. And that's a topic for a completely different time. But as far as problems go with this thing, oh boy, where do we start? One of the things, I guess we'll start with, you know, obviously the torpedoes are way too weak for what they're supposed to do. And these are actually some of the better ones. And, like, for this thing's intended job and what it's supposed to go after, these torpedoes need to be doing what they used to do back in, like, 313, 312 at around 23k damage. That's what they need to do. That's problem number one. That's a balance issue, and as you guys who have been to the channel before know that I wouldn't make a video off of just a balance issue, but that is one of the problems with this thing. Actually, I can show you just how terrible the other size 5 torpedoes are. So the first ones were doing 17k. This is what the rest of them do. Like, this is... oh my god. That's one of the problems with this video and why it's taken so long to get out. I'm going to have to be drug every which way explaining this pile of problems with this ship. So let's just go after the torpedoes first before we get anything else, just because it's order of operations. You know, it's easier to just do it this way. So the way the missiles work is there are 3 categories, 4 subcategories. So you have a missile, you have your torpedo, and then you have your anti-capital torpedo. And then it kind of repeats. Every 4, you've got like your micro, your light, your medium or standard, whatever you want to call it, and then your heavy missile. And then it repeats into the torpedoes. Micro torpedo, light torpedo, medium torpedo, standard, etc., etc., etc. That's the way it works. A size 5 is the smallest weapon that is considered a torpedo. Now, a size 5 torpedo is going to be going after this category of ships as its like main target. So these are your fast attack craft, your patrol gunboats, your patrol missile boats, your patrol torpedo boats, stuff like that. So, you know, you're going after Retaliators, Valkyries, C2, A2, M2, A1 when it comes out, Caterpillars, Constellations, let's see what else, Corsairs, You know, the things in that size bracket. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, I use my torpedoes to kill heavy fighters. It's like, yeah, you can if they're sitting still, but that's not really what they're for. I mean, if you're going to go after heavy fighters, you should be going after you get like a size 4 missile. And then groups of size 5 missile equipped, or I guess micro torpedo equipped craft can probably go after a Corvette class vessel if you're going to be punching up, you know, above your weight. But you're going to need multiple craft to take one of those things down, because even if you fix the damage and have them doing 23k a pop, it's still going to be a little light duty. I mean, especially with the way things work now. And yeah, it may not always work that way, but they're getting closer and closer to final implementation. They're still a long way away, but it was always intended to have missile bleed through. And what's going on right now is it's about 70% of the damage gets through the shields. So the shields stop 30%, and then the hull itself has like typically another 50% resistances. So if you're just doing PvE and you want to spam like micro torpedoes at everything, you can, but again, it's going to have some tracking issues against players. And if you're going to go after things like heavy fighters or Cuddy Black, stuff in that like size group, you're probably going to have better luck with the size 4 missile. Now, I know people are going to be quick to point out, and I've pointed out in the past, that currently size 3, 4, and 5 missiles are terrible, and they are not doing what they used to do, or even what they should do. And frankly, they should go back to what they used to do. So right now, we have size 5 missiles that should be doing about 23k damage, and they're doing this. Size 4 missiles should be doing about 10 to 13k damage, somewhere in that ballpark, based off of what they need to attack and deal with the ships inside their category. Like, for example, this thing is it's a heavy fighter, and it's got like almost, yeah, it's got like 10,000 health. So if you had sorry, 30,000 health. So if you had let's say a size 4 missile that was actually doing the 10, 12k damage, 13k damage it should be doing, and this is just terrible. Like, they did this a while ago when they made all the weapons kind of samey and then just left it there for years. But like size 4s currently are absolutely useless. These are huge missiles, and they are utter garbage. There is no reason to run a larger missile at the moment. But like, let's think in the future, hypothetically, when these things are working the way they should. A ship like this, which has like 10k health to any like one subsection of the body, and like 30k total. Well, because of the way shields work, we have let's say we have a 10,000 damage heavy missile. 30% of that's going to get stopped, so we're only going to have 7,000 damage. Well, again, you got 50% health, so that's only 3.5k. A heavy missile is, I mean, and that's assuming that you fix them, not that they're doing like 3k, 4k damage. I mean, this is like, who did? I mean, I get that you're working on it, but like, who thought that was a good idea? Seriously, this is just horrible. And then, you know, 3s aren't much better. Like, 3s need to be doing around, if memory serves, about 5 to 6k damage a pop. Yeah, so 3s need to be doing about 5 to 6k damage a pop, and 4s need to be doing anywhere from 10 to 13k damage, with size 5s doing anywhere from roughly 20 to 23k damage. Like, that is the spread. You've got like different types of missiles within each category, and they like to give them like little niches and stuff like that. So that's why there's that spread there. If they ever add a size 6 missile, that'll be doing just going off of the standard formula that we've had forever, and it used to be this way again before they changed it. But going off of that, if they had a size 6 missile, that'll be doing anywhere from 46 to 50k damage. And then if you look at the Anvil Ballista, the size 7 Hellions are doing like 90k, yeah, like 90 to 100k damage, which is again right where they should be. So a size 6 would be doing about half that. A size 5 is half of a size 6, or roughly a quarter of a size 7. And then a size 4 is, again, like roughly half of a size 5. That's just how the missiles are supposed to work. So that's the issue with the missile rework done. The next problem with this, with the Gladiator, is the firepower. And a lot of people are that I've talked to about this say, oh, just give the pilot control of the turret guns. At face value, if you don't think about it, yeah, like more DPS sounds great, right? But that's not really the problem with the Gladiator. You see, the Gladiator doesn't really need more of the same size guns. It doesn't need more DPS to do its job. It needs larger guns. Because right now, I have the same size guns as a Hornet, or even a Gladius, for Christ's sake, but I have less of them. Now, I agree with having less guns on a Gladiator. That makes sense. But they need to be slightly larger, so they should be a pair of size 4s instead of size 3s, because your intended target isn't other fighters. You don't need high DPS, you need punchier guns to go after larger targets with slightly thicker armor. That is the point of a bomber. The other issue is this thing's secondary racks here, they're all size 3s. I mean, that is the same as a Gladius, you know? So, like, why... This is a light fighter, and the other one's a light bomber, which is based off of a medium fighter chassis. I should not have the same missile loadout as a Gladius. And the Hornet also has a similar loadout to this thing. Now, I know a lot of people are going to sit there and go, oh, well, you have the size 5s. You don't need more missiles. Well, no. Like, Gladiator really needs a better toolkit to do its intended job. In fact, I'm not the only person to suggest this. People have said this on the Spectrum forums, but I haven't really seen any YouTubers talk about this kind of thing, and it's kind of a shame, and that's why I've got to come out and do these videos, even though I'm not really a YouTuber myself. So, to fully understand how bad the Gladiator is, let me show you what we got versus what we were supposed to get. Okay? So this is what we got right here. This is a size 3 missile. This is a twin size 2. This is a size 3 gun. And look how small this gun is. Like, if this was your gimbaled gun, that would make sense. This needs to be a size 4. You know? And when in its current state, when you put your gimbaled weapons for size 2s, they're smaller than this. They're freaking tiny. They're useless. But this is what we have now. And this is your 4 times size 1 missiles over here. So this is just the full spread. It shows you everything that you can equip. Now let me show you what we were supposed to get. This is what we were supposed to get, right here. And then if you compare it with this key here, this is 15. 15 is a size 5 torpedo. 14. 14 are a quad stack of size 3 missiles. We cannot do that in the current game. And part of that is, frankly, this ship is too small to actually pull off what we were supposed to get forever ago. And I know you can sit there and say, oh, that's the military. No. Even the military version is not going to be able to do this. And you should not have an air quotes military version, and that's the only one that's capable of doing its intended job, when you have a light bomber and its job is to kill intermediate-sized targets. If you have a civilian version of a light bomber and it can't kill intermediate-sized targets, then it's not doing its job. It shouldn't exist. All right. Now, if you want to make the military version slightly better, maybe say, okay, the military version has the same loadout as the civilian ones, except the military version comes with gimbaled size 4s, whereas the civilian version can only do fixed size 4s and then size 3 gimbaled. Like, there you go. That's slightly better. And maybe it'll come with different components and stuff, stock. I mean, that's good enough. Do not have the stupid, yeah, it's a civilian version, therefore we gotta nerf it to where it can't do its one and only job. You know, just don't do that, please. If you look at these pylons here, you can see that the outer ones are physically smaller than the inner ones. And although this ship itself is too small for the original concept, because those are huge missiles. I mean, if you look here, this bay, I mean, look at the size of that. From there to there. That is just way too big. And having a quad size 3 means that this mount would also traditionally be able to have a size 5 torpedo, and it's smaller than the inboard mount. And there's just no way. But maybe we don't have to have the original concept. Maybe we can find a happy medium, and I've got more good news on that, because you technically don't even have to have a model edit. Literally just changing the weapons is good enough to fix these problems. And that's super easy to do. CIG can literally go in there and change what weapons mount on each different thing. So let me show you one of the things that I came up with. And this is what it would look like as a hypothetical max loadout right here. This is your size 3s, which is the largest you could put on the outer pylons. This is a size 4. I mean, look how big that thing is. And that's still smaller than the torpedoes that are carried inside this thing. And this is a size 4 weapon here. Now, this is just a camera trick, but this is what I meant earlier when I said, yeah, maybe we can't have the original loadout that we had from this thing, but maybe we don't need it. Like, if we had size 4 pilot-controlled fixed guns or size 3 gimbaled, this launcher was given special rules to say, okay, maybe we give it like a one-time size 3 and allow it to have 4 size 2s. That way it's similar to the picture here. Instead of size 3s, this will be a quad size 2. And then underneath it, we can say you can have 4 times size 1s on the outer wing, or even just 8 times size 1s. That'll be a good start. And then the inner pylon, since it's larger, needs to basically be bumped up like 1 standard tier. So make it so these ones can mount a single size 4 as their biggest mounting. Fix the damage for the 3s and 4s, like I talked about here. Give it like a twin size 3. 4 times size 2 there as well, and then 8 times size 1. So these inner pylons would follow the traditional missile mounting options, and then the outer ones here, the outer ones there, would have the special rules I was talking about there with the the 4 times size 2, so it would be a little bit closer to in the picture. The other thing is, we've got crazy stuff like this. This thing has over half of the firepower of the bomber, and it has 12 size 2s and 8 size 1 missiles, and this thing is like 2-3 times smaller than the Gladiator. So I don't see any reason why we couldn't have special rules and special racking options for this ship to better facilitate what its intended job is. And that's like the easiest solution I see. It's just apply these changes, no model edit required, and I think plenty of people will be happy. There's a couple other problems with this, though, and they're bug related. I actually owned one of these things a little bit ago during the Fleet Week, and I CCU chained it. But I ran into 2 bugs. One of them is so bad that people on Spectrum are asking for a refund or a loaner, because if this thing goes in atmosphere and exceeds SCM speed, because it's got a really old flight model, it cannot. I mean, it locks up hard. It cannot turn at all. And I'm not saying, oh, well, yeah, you're above FCM speed, you shouldn't turn. It's like, no, you don't understand. Like, you lock up so hard that it's actually dangerous to fly. And it will get you killed if you're not perfectly aligned up into the sky or something like that, because it does not want to turn. It doesn't want to do anything. The second problem is these torpedo bays here, they are completely bespoke, and they cannot be edited at all. You cannot change the torpedo, and you cannot change the racks. Now, that normally wouldn't be a problem, except, I'm going into combat, and I take damage, and I get one of these torpedo bays blown off, and then I go to repair, and it doesn't replace the torpedoes or the rack, because those are gone now. And since I can't even edit this slot in the Mobi-Glass, there's no way, and not only that, but they also don't even sell the replacement parts. So I can't edit it, and they don't sell the replacement parts. So there's absolutely no way for me to fix the bomber when I have this stuff blown off. So if I've got a crappy bomber that has no secondary features, like it doesn't do cargo, it doesn't do mining, and it shouldn't either, it's a combat ship. It's not very good at the combat it does. It's not even remotely close to the concept we were sold. And I've lost my torpedoes to a bug. I have a $165 paperweight. So I just refunded my thing, and I'm like, nah, this is not acceptable. CIG, you can have my money when I have a working product. Oh, and here you have me showing that with the size 3 outer mounting, if this was a size 4, hypothetically, it would be a twin size 3. And it's just showing that, like, offset, like, it doesn't actually physically get in the way of anything here. That's kind of what this picture is, and this is what I'm talking about when I say it's this thing is much smaller than the actual concept. There is no way to quad mount size 3s. So leaving this one on the outer edge, a size 3 max, and then bumping up this inner one to like a size 4 with all of its different racking options, I think is the perfect solution to this. I don't think anybody would really complain about this compromise compared to getting the original package that we were supposed to. And you know, again, the nice thing about this is you can just do this by just editing the weapon loadouts for each individual part, without having to edit the model and without having to do any kind of gold standard for this thing. So it would be really awesome if CIG did that, because I would turn around and swipe my credit card so fast to buy another one of these things if CIG fixed that. And I think a lot of other people would too. Not everybody's really big into fighters. You know, some of us like bombers, some of us like capital ships, and you know, other big ships. Like not everybody's a fighter jock. Just like not everybody likes flying. Star Citizen's such a big game that you can sit there and run around and do bunkers and do stuff on the ground, and that's awesome. I love that about this game. Oh, I almost forgot one other thing, that it's not just this. Like all of the medium fighters need this, but one of the other things the Gladiator needs, along with the medium fighters, the Vandal Glaive, the Hornet, the Saber, all of them, they need to have their crummy little twin size 1 shields replaced with a single size 2 shield. Because I mean, it just makes sense to me that a snub fighter or parasite fighter would have 1 size 1, light fighters would have 2 size 1s, a medium fighter would have 1 size 2, and heavy fighters would have 2 size 2 shields. It doesn't make any sense that medium fighters have the same shielding as the light fighters, which are smaller and presumably weaker than them, but do everything else better than the medium fighters, which is really weird. And I get it, these are supposed to be armor ships, but armor's not in the game and won't be for a very long time, and we can look at that at a later time. But even when armor does come in, it just makes way more sense to have that progression system working that way versus how it does in-game right now. But that's about all I have to say about this thing. Now we're going to move on to the next one. Right, so the next ship on the list that is terrible at its job is the Vanguard Harbinger. And some of you are probably going, what bone do you have to pick with the Harbinger? Well, the Vanguard Harbinger is terrible at its job, which is to be the next step up above the Gladiator Light Bomber. This is a, I guess, medium torpedo bomber is how you would probably best classify this thing. It's built on the Vanguard heavy fighter chassis, and all of the things that make it good are mostly attributed to the fact that it's on a Vanguard chassis. When it comes to actually doing its job, which is to be a torpedo bomber, it's kind of terrible at it. In fact, it's so bad, it even has less torpedoes than the light bomber, despite being twice the price in the store and being the next size up. This thing has 3 size 5 torpedoes. The Gladiator that we just talked about has 4. Now, there's 2 possible ways to fix this. The first way being, and I don't even recommend this one, because I'm not sure if you would even be able to pull this off, but the first way would be somehow expand the size of this torpedo bay here and increase the size of the torpedoes to size 6s. That way you could keep the 3 torpedoes, but they'd be doing double damage, and they would also be able to, presumably, when armor comes out, engage the next largest size, which would allow this ship to have its niche as the next step up in bombers over the Gladiator fulfilled. That's option number 1. Again, I don't really know how you would do that, expanding it, because it doesn't look like there's a lot of room underneath this thing. Yeah, I mean, you're pretty much taking up this entire bay. There's no room. So what's option number 2? Well, option number 2 is to completely gut the beds and this stupid bathroom here. I mean, it's a fighter. It doesn't need this stuff. This is ridiculous. And then have a second 3 stack of size 5s put over here. If you do that, it'll have 6 torpedoes instead of the 4 that the Gladiator has, and it will allow it to be, in essence, 50% better than the light bomber, thus fulfilling its role as a better medium bomber. Now, the problem with this is no matter which way you go, unlike the Gladiator, this is going to need a model edit, which is not likely to happen anytime soon. But, I mean, it is what it is. Other than that, like, the rest of the ship is fine. The missile loadouts are fine. Like, all of these points over here are size 4 loadouts, and it has 4 of them. So, in theory, this thing could have 4 size 4 missiles, whereas the reworked Gladiator would only have 2. And this thing does have 2 size 2 shields, which means it's way tankier. And it also mounts a big size 5 gun on the nose. So, the only thing you really got to do is just pick option number 2 and add a second stack of 3 times size 5 missiles right there on this side where the beds and the bathroom are, and that'll allow it to do its job pretty well. Notice how I'm not saying completely rework these things. I'm never saying turn something into something else that it's not. I'm only trying to highlight the issues that keep these ships from doing their intended job. And that's kind of the issue here. Like, most of CIG's ships identify as something, and like CIG puts out a ship and goes, "Oh, I'm a bomber," or I'm a gunship, or I'm a, you know, this, that, or the other, and it's like, okay, great, can you do any of those things? And the ship's like, no, we can't. We're actually terrible at it. Well, surely as a medium bomber, you're at least better than the light bomber, right? Like, you got more firepower, or at least more missiles? No, we don't have that either. Speaking of ships that can't do their job, the Vanguard Hoplite is another version of the Vanguard, or just yet another ship in general that has its one and only job screwed up. For those of you who don't know, the Hoplite is a dropship. What's wrong with it, you ask? Well, the seats don't fucking work. Like, how do you fuck up chairs, CIG? Are you kidding me right now? Does anything in your freaking game work? Will it ever work? And if so, when? Because you've got simple issues like this, and simple things like, the weapon rework that we've been waiting like 4 or 5 freaking years on now, since, what was it, 3.13 or whatever, and we still don't have the weapon rework, which is only supposed to take like a year or 2. I mean, shit, hire me, I'll do it. Like, God, this game drives me nuts. I'm not even asking for the world. There's a ton of things that are super complex, and I don't care. Don't work on it. Just polish the stuff you have, which is 90% of the community's frustration. But they don't do it. They just keep pushing out stupid things or selling JPEGs, and it's the most successful NFT scam in history. Like, I want to like this game because I like space games, and this is one of the few space games that's actually multiplayer, that's trying to do things, but it just runs like dog water, and the things that are in there don't even work. Like, just, I'm starting to hate this game. I'm starting to hate this game. Oh. Alright. Maybe CIG will see these videos and do something about it. I don't know. I don't have much hope. I mean, I would rather come work for them. I will do the weapon rework. I'll do the flight model rework. I will do the hit point tuning. I can do the stealth system rework. I can do shields and armor. I mean, I am a systems designer. I do all these things, you know, and I'm very good at tuning. But CIG says, oh, most of our positions are full, or we're not looking for somebody with your skill set at this time. Meanwhile, they have people like John Crew who just, like, eviscerate things that didn't do their job to begin with because, oh, I'm an anti-capital fighter and I killed a light fighter. Oh no, it's the end of the world. I mean, like, what's next? A battleship just happens to shoot somebody, the main gun, and because you want it to kill other battleships and not people, you nerf the shit out of it so it's not a threat to the person, not realizing that, hey, if it can't kill a person, it certainly can't kill a battleship. Again, this is what I'm talking about with freaking identifying as things that you can't possibly do. The Ares twins are not anti-capital fighters. Why? Because they don't have any freaking damage or range at all. And the things that are going to be a threat to a capital, yes, if you hit a light fighter with that, it should fucking explode. This game makes me want to rant. Oh my god. I have to stop. I'm going to end the video here. Y'all have a good one. Hopefully this game gets better. Probably won't. Take care. Speaking of shit that doesn't work, this is New Babbage right now at the spaceport and at the Commerce Center. I have no idea how you're supposed to get anything done, but that's the state of the game. along with 80 other bugs.